Because swimming and student debt doesn't count as cardio, you'll need some funds for your gym membership, rent payment, phone bill, money, and a social life, right? Some of these things require you to have a credit score, which you might not have known, and a decent one at that. With so much on your plate in college, how do you possibly focus on building your credit? And what does that even mean? Those are great questions, and that's what we're answering for you today with a special treat, so stay with me. Hello, everyone, and thank you for tuning in to Ask Abby. My name is Abby, and like I said, we have a special treat in today's show. Not only is it a Friday, but we also have a special guest, Peyton, who is a college student, and while in college, full-time, working part-time, she has somehow managed to build her credit and has a killer credit score. So she is here with us today. We're going to bring her on in just a few minutes, and she's going to answer some credit questions for us as she is a credit guru. But before I bring her on, I just want to let you know how this show is going to work. So I have quite a few questions for her, but I'd also love to know what questions you have. So while we're chatting, please add your comments and questions in the comment bar, and we will get to those towards the end of the show if we have time. So I'm going to go ahead and bring Peyton on now. Hi, Peyton. How are you?
Hi, doing great. How are you doing today?
I'm good. Thank you so much for coming on the show. We're so excited to have you on today. And we're really ready to learn exactly how you've managed to juggle everything that you have going on and still been able to build this killer credit score. So we have a ton of questions for you. But first and foremost, would you mind giving us a quick introduction of who you are and what you have going on in your life right now?
Yeah, definitely. First off, thank you so much for bringing me on the show. I'm so appreciative to get to talk to you. It's definitely a very exciting time. Getting ready to start my last semester of college, currently majoring in finance at UNC Charlotte. Also in the midst of finishing my second year internship with Wells Fargo, working in capital management, getting to experience something really unique that I think a lot of college students don't get to do by really learning about the inner workings of banking. So that's very, very interesting. And then as it relates to COVID, it's obviously created a very unique situation, working very closely in the office with various business segments. It's created quite a interesting time in terms of shifting to a virtual work setting. But despite that, Wells has made every effort to make this such a meaningful experience for all the interns. And then in terms of my graduation, I've obviously worked very hard to position myself to graduate debt-free. So that's very exciting to have that on the horizon.
Absolutely. Congratulations. That's awesome. When I was in college, it was hard enough just to juggle everything that was going on. And I can't imagine being a full-time student, working part-time on your way to graduation and juggling everything that's going on with COVID right now. I mean, it has to be so tricky. So I definitely commend you for that. And congratulations on graduating debt-free. You are very lucky. And there are some people out there who, haven't figured out how to go about that and build their college or build their credit in college. So my first question to you, Peyton, is when and how did you first learn about credit and its importance? And, can you tell us a little bit about that? Because there are people in college who don't really know what the importance is in a credit score and how to build it.
Sure. So like a lot of students and young adults my age, I initially went to apply for my first college loan my freshman year. Because I had no established credit, I couldn't do it without my dad's assistance as a cosigner. I then began working with my dad to learn the best practices of how to build my credit and do so the right way. Then we began the process of actually implementing that plan.
Awesome. So after you learned all of that and how it can have an impact on your future and your finances, what was the first step you took to build credit? So if people are, becoming more financially literate and trying to make moves in the right direction, what's that first step that you took?
So first, I co-signed on my first student loan as a freshman with my dad, as I previously mentioned. And in parallel, opened up my first credit card by shopping around, finding the ideal terms that really best suited my needs. I think it was important for me and for everyone to figure out exactly what they need out of a credit card, as opposed to being drawn into the perks and benefits that are advertised to everyone out there. So then one of the best things I did was learn how to use that credit card in order to maximize its effectiveness for the purpose of building credit for the first time. And the key takeaway from this was to make small purchases each month that I knew I could afford, and then pay my bill in full and on time.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that, a lot of people get their first credit card in college. I know I did. And I didn't really know what I was doing. Honestly, I was just walking through the airport one day and some lady asked me if I wanted $60,000 in travel miles. And I said, absolutely, that sounds like a great deal. Obviously I wasn't aware what the repercussions of that were. I had no idea what credit was or how to build credit. And so knowing that is huge, and knowing, what's the best step to take towards building that first credit card. But, even then, it's a whole nother thing to open a credit card and then be financially responsible in college. You've got social pressure to go out and do stuff, buy stuff. So how do you manage to be financially responsible in college and go from having a pantry of ramen noodles to being able to afford your bills and going out sometimes with your friends?
So what I learned at an early age is that honestly, nothing comes without hard work. I've recognized the need to really manage my time and multitask. And this obviously required me to work part-time jobs in order to achieve the financial goals I wanted to. I had to be really frugal with the money I had. And oftentimes I actually worked 40 hours a week my freshman year while going to school full time. And although it was daunting, I'm really grateful for that experience, because it really helped me grow and push me beyond my comfort zone and what I thought was possible for myself. And, I did this all to ensure that I had the financial resources necessary to pay my bills, get my college loans paid off prior to graduation, and then also allow me to do some of the additional things I wanted, such as being with friends or going on trips here and there.
Yeah, I'm sure it wasn't always easy, right? There's a lot of pressure to do a lot of stuff in college. So, awesome. So then the next question I have is, obviously, so was that your freshman year that you opened up your first credit card?
Yes, it was, goodness, I would say between the summer that I got my first loan and my fall semester, I spoke with my dad, and we thought that would be a great first step in order to, be able to be financially independent, take out loans in the future without needing his assistance.
Yeah, definitely. So then, at that point, your credit was probably non-existent. So how long did it take you to go from zero to any sort of credit score? And then has your score ever dropped for any reason throughout all of this?
It's a good question. I think it actually took me close to a year and a half to incrementally build my score up to where it is now. It's been constantly sitting around a 770 for 2 years. And at this point, it hasn't dropped for any reason. I've maintained pretty consistent habits in terms of, as I previously mentioned, only making purchases that I know I can afford, paying that bill in full month to month. And so at this point, until I really make the conscious effort to expand my credit profile, I think I've kind of plateaued at that 770 range. And as long as I don't do anything too crazy until I decide to do that, it shouldn't drop. So.
Yeah, definitely. So with that being said, where do you go to check your credit, and how often do you do that?
It's funny. I feel like a bit of a dork for this, but I check my Bank of America app, and it's really easy. I just use the dashboard tool. For anyone who has a Bank of America app, I'm sure you're familiar with that. And I honestly check my credit score, I would probably say 5 times a week, which is completely unnecessary. That is instilled in me that having a good credit score is so important. So if I'm ever just bored or checking the Bank of America app, I always click on the dashboard just to make sure it hasn't dropped, even though it would not drop in that period of time. But for peace of mind, I check it so often. So
yeah, hey, you got to do it. If you can, why not? Yeah, so you said you check it on the Bank of America app. A lot of major banks have the opportunity to check your credit score for free. So if you guys are looking for where to check your credit score, there's a couple of apps you can use too, things like Credit Karma and Mint. And then the major banks, they all have the opportunity for you to check that too, and it's free. And the big thing is a lot of people, I think not anymore. I think a lot of people know that it doesn't hurt your credit score to check it, but just in case you didn't know, it's not, there's no disadvantage to checking your score. It's actually a good thing, like Peyton said, to make sure that it's not dropped for any reason. And then from there, you would want to go check out your credit report. So that's a big thing too, you guys, that we're talking about lately with everything that's going on in COVID. Financial stuff is changing a lot. So check your credit score first and foremost. But if anything seems off at all, or maybe anyways, go check your credit report. And you can do that for free as well if you go to annualcreditreport.com. It's super easy. Check it out. You just want to make sure that there's not any accounts open in your name that are not yours, any duplicate accounts, things like that. These are all things that could hurt your credit score. And you just want to make sure that you're checking. And like Peyton said, there's no harm in checking every day if that's what you want to do. So might as well go check it, go check your credit score and check your credit report while you're at it. With all that being said, I am just curious. There's a lot to learn. Like, there's so many nitty gritty details in finance and credit scores, and you have great experience because that's what you're studying in school and that's the industry that you're working towards. But what's the most important thing you've learned along the way and through this journey?
Good question. I'd say honestly not to let my short-term desire for things ever exceed what I'm able to afford, and that my credit will impact so many things in my life going forward. So it's such a wise and honestly invaluable investment of time to do it the right way and learn about credit and all the things that you can do with having a strong credit score early on. So, looking to buy a car right now is something that I'm interested in, and my credit score now lets me qualify to get the best rates and terms available. So it's little conscious decisions early on that will, really impact the decisions and choices that you're able to make later on in life, just by taking these proactive steps right now.
Yeah, definitely. And if you guys are, even for you, Peyton, we did a show on purchasing cars and refinancing cars. So after the show, I'll put that link in the comment bar. So for anybody who's thinking about making a big purchase like that, it's a really great show. We talk about all the nitty gritty things that go into it. And then we also have a show on how to avoid getting ripped off at the car dealership, which it happens, if you don't go in there prepared, knowing like you do, your credit score, where your finances sit, what interest rates kind of look like right now, it can be intimidating, and there's a lot of pressure at the car dealership. So it's a great show. So I will put that link in the comment bar as well. So, you said that one of the biggest things that you've learned is not to make big financial decisions without really thinking about it, right? And making some sacrifices along the way. So aside from that, what's your advice to other students out there who either don't know what credit is or even where to start in that realm?
I would say for those of you who don't have access to a subject matter expert, there are so many, great free resources available out there. Such as those actually offered through your company. So creditanddebt.org and also credit.org.
Yeah, definitely. There are a ton of great resources. I say this all the time, but you guys can call our coaches. If you have even just questions about credit scores in general, you can call our coaches. And we have resources on our website. You can ask me questions. So if you have questions about just even getting started, definitely check out our resources. So I think all that is awesome advice. And obviously you're killing it in credit scores. So is there anything else that you'd just like to say to people out there in this process, or any advice that you can give, any things that you've learned along the way, that secret sauce that you've got going on to build this credit score?
I would say first, just get in touch with someone or utilize the resources I previously mentioned. It's obviously never too early to start building your credit. And I would say don't be intimidated by credit. A lot of people, hear about a credit card and they get scared, but don't. It's a great resource, as I previously mentioned, and opens a lot of great doors in terms of being able to be financially independent and make those decisions later on in life. So don't let it intimidate you, and be proactive early on.
Absolutely. Awesome. Well, you guys, that's all the time we have for today's show. So we're going to hit pause for this week's special Friday episode. Thank you so much for tuning in and for watching. And if you have any burning questions that we didn't get to today for me or for Peyton, please don't hesitate to reach out. You can do that a couple of ways. You can either comment on this post and we'll check it out. We'll reply to you. You can also Facebook message me directly. You can do that on either the Credit in Debt Facebook page or my Ask Abby Facebook page. Either way, I monitor that. And you can always also email me directly at askabby@creditanddebt.org. If you have questions, like I said, for Peyton, you can reach out to us too, and we'll make sure that we get in contact with her and we get some more amazing secrets and answers from her. So we are continuing our student loan series through next week. So make sure that you follow our Facebook page so that you get those notifications. You can also opt in for notifications for when we go live. And you guys, there are so many students out there. Like we talked about last week, there are 45 million people with student loan debt, and student loan debt does affect your credit. So please like and share this video so that other people out there with questions about student loans and credit scores and building credit in college can get the answers they're looking for. And hit that thumbs up button for us. And then you will get to see more of our shows as well. So last thing, if you missed Wednesday's show, go back and watch it, because we answered the burning question of whether or not there's going to be another stimulus check coming out to Americans. So that's it, everybody. Peyton, thank you so much for joining us in your busy schedule. And we will see you all next week on Ask Abby. Thanks, everybody.